Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to talk about how to differentiate your brand. Now why is this important? Well, it's important because too often you see brands go really safe with their visual and their written identity. They create logos and they create artwork that's really similar to their competitors. The way they communicate their brand is very similar to competitors. They use similar language and they don't stand out in any way, shape or form. Now, why is this a problem? It's a problem because your ideal clients can't differentiate you from your competitors. So the first thing they see, the first thing they interact with is your brand in some way, shape or form. So if they've been referred to you or they find you via a search engine, then the first thing they're going to encounter are things like your logo and how you portray your brand in a written sense. So it's important to stand out. It's important to differentiate yourself. And we're going to talk about how you can achieve exactly that in today's video. So at 2112, we specialize in working with tech and financial services firms. And I would say, with the exception of maybe fintechs, it is a sea of sameness out there, including a lot of tech brands, including many traditional financial services businesses. So I'm talking about accountants, mortgage brokers, wealth managers. These guys all create brands that look and sound incredibly similar. And this is a bit of a problem because when you can't differentiate yourself by your product benefits, so if you're a mortgage broker, it stands to reason that all independent mortgage brokers should have access to the best rates. So what's differentiating you? Well, if your brand isn't differentiating you and you're not leveraging the people in your business within your communications, then there's nothing to differentiate you from your competitors. This makes it extremely hard to stand out. It makes it hard for consumers to know who to choose, who to go with. They don't resonate with anyone, so they pick the people who are the cheapest or the most convenient, or they've simply been referred by a friend. The only way to overcome this is by differentiating your brand in a visual and a written sense. And that goes not just for mortgage brokers, but accountants, wealth managers, and tech firms in general. Everyone needs to think about how do they differentiate your brand. I'm going to take you through how you can do that in today's video. Before we dive into brand, a quick note on content and another of the problems it creates when you haven't figured out a really differentiated brand identity. What tends to happen is you focus on product messaging over personality. Now, everyone can communicate about products in the same way. Whether we're talking about mortgages and the latest rates, or you're talking about inheritance tax planning for a wealth manager, it's really easy for people to ignore it. So we need to focus on creating more personality around our brand. The first place we want to look for this is within the people in our business, because that is something that is truly unique to you. So start by asking yourself, what makes you different as people? And can we bring that to the fore in terms of your brand identity? So something super interesting starts to happen when you focus on personality over product. You start to tell stories. And you might have heard the expression that facts tell and stories sell. And it's so true. If you look at the top performing posts on any social media platform, they're all underpinned by storytelling. And we need to bring that to the forefront of your brand. We need to start telling a story around your brand and its creation and the people within your brand. Now, you might be scratching your head and thinking, I'm not that interesting. I don't know where to start. My journey is quite conventional. Well, the best place to start is by asking your current clients. So the first thing I do is set up interviews with your best clients. Start building an ideal client persona, mapping it out in great detail. Who are your ideal clients? Who do you want to work with? Who don't you want to work with, importantly? Start mapping that out and start interviewing them. Start asking them questions like, why did you choose to work with us over a competitor? What makes us different in your opinion? What makes us better? And then use the opportunity to ask them what you could improve at the same time. This is going to give you incredibly in-depth information about how to structure your brand and your messaging to reach more people who match your ideal client persona and bring it to the forefront within your brand identity too. So to give you an example of utilizing what your clients tell you within your written identity, look at the 2112 marketing homepage. Now, quite often when we interview a candidate for a role at the agency, or we talk to a new client who's come through our website, they always mention the copy that's on the homepage. They mention phrases like, "It really stood out to me that you said you can market to the unmarketable, that you can reach prospects who are completely resistant to sales engagement, that you can take complex products and convey them in a simple, marketable way to senior prospects." Now, why does this resonate so much with these people? Well, it's simple. The way we wrote the copy for our website and the fulcrum underpinning our written identity was taken from interviews with current clients. We looked at the transcripts, we analyzed the trends, and we looked at our everyday calls with them. And we started analyzing the language they used in reference to what we do. We listened to their pain points, their objections to working with us, and we use that within our copy. So quotes that sound amazing, and I'd love to claim credit for writing this as a trained copywriter myself. Things like marketing to the unmarketable was something that one of our clients said to us on a call once. They said, "We love working with you guys because you find a way to market to the unmarketable." Other clients have said things like, "Hey, our prospects are completely resistant to sales engagement." Boom. That's amazing because that resonates with other people who are in their role, who are struggling with similar problems. And we use that within our copy, not just on our website homepage, but within our collateral and all our messaging, including our pitches, both verbal and the pitch proposal we supply, to help us close clients because we're talking their language and it resonates with them. You might be watching this video and thinking, "I don't have any clients to talk to, I'm a startup business, so what do I do?" Well, if that's the case, then obviously you can build a brand around your personal journey and what matters most to you. You also, at this point, need to map out your competitors. So analyze everything from how they portray their brand visually and how they do so in a written sense. So something we like to do is take a list of competitors and analyze their taglines and analyze how their website looks above the fold. So that's what you see as soon as you land on their website. How are they introducing themselves? Visually and written, what's that one-liner? What's that tagline? What are they trying to say about their business? What does it communicate? Then we start mapping out their positioning. What space do they actually own? Now, this is a really interesting thing to get into because in every market you have people who own different sections of that market. And as a brand, you've got to decide who you want to take on. Now, you might be creating a blue ocean, creating a whole new category, fair play to you, but most businesses aren't. Now, Daniel Priestley in his book Oversubscribed has some really interesting ideas around this. He says you can own 4 categories. You can be the cheapest, fine, but most businesses, especially B2B businesses, don't or can't be the cheapest in their category. You can be the most innovative, again, incredibly hard to do, but if you're in tech, you might see that as a category you want to own and double down on. You can own the relationship. So in terms of the relationship, this is something that's easier to own for most B2B businesses. So in terms of owning the relationship, you build great relationships with your clients, with your audience, to help turn prospects into paying clients. Now, the way you might do this is through communications at a digital level, how you communicate on LinkedIn, on email, but also physical. So do you host events? Do you speak at other people's events that are relevant and invite your clients and invite your prospects along to it to build the relationship? The 4th category is convenience. So can you be the most convenient option? Now, this might be great if you're the only mortgage broker in your town. Well, double down on that local area. You know, really try and saturate that area before you expand anywhere else, because you've got a relatively blue ocean. You can play on the fact that you are your town's local mortgage broker. You don't need to go further afield. You just need to come to us. So you can play on that. So there are 4 categories you can consider as you build a differentiated brand identity. Okay, I'm going to tackle a difficult one next, because a lot of brands use purpose as a replacement for identity. So they might be in something like accountancy, but they mention that their whole purpose is to give 10% of their profits to cleaning up the ocean, for example. So they use sustainability to kind of replace their brand identity. And I think this is a really tired and overused concept, and I would steer away from it. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be philanthropic in your efforts, and that shouldn't be part of your core values and how you portray your brand, but it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all. You've got to find better ways to differentiate how you operate, because in my opinion, every business in a certain way should have a purpose outside making profit. Mark Ritson has a wonderful quote around purpose. He says something along the lines of, "A true purpose is only a purpose when you sacrifice profit for it." Now that's paraphrasing. You can look the quote up and it'll be far cleaner, but you get the picture. Most brands aren't actually willing to sacrifice profit in order to sustain or empower the purpose that they suggest they champion. Now, if you're going to go purpose-led, that's exactly what you need to do. You need to double down on it. It needs to become absolutely core to your identity. And that does mean sacrificing profit. And most brands are not willing to do that. But if you are, fair play to you. Make it core to your brand identity by all means, but be super careful. ESG, sustainability, has been incredibly overused over the past 5 years or so, in my opinion. And most people, when you look under the bonnet, don't actually uphold the values they say they do. So be careful with it. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. As ever, we've covered a huge amount of ground. I really hope it's been helpful. So let's quickly recap on what we've covered. You can create a really differentiated brand identity that helps you fill your pipeline way more consistently by exploring some of these ideas. They include going niche. So for example, you might become a wealth manager who just specializes in doctors. That means you become the go-to for doctors looking for financial planning advice, as an example. You might also consider owning a certain category. So it might be looking at Daniel Priestley's 4 areas: be the cheapest, be the most innovative, own the relationship, or be the most convenient within your market. To understand which you might own, do your competitor research. Research how they position their businesses, both from a visual perspective and a written perspective. Explore, are there any gaps? What are they good at? What are they not so good at? And does that offer you an opportunity to exploit? Also, speak to your current clients. Build an understanding of the language they use, the way that they communicate. Also ask them why they use you. Why did they choose you over a competitor? This can create incredibly compelling content that you can leverage to find more people like them and make your content and your brand identity truly resonate with them. So these are just some ideas on how you can differentiate your brand and business. And what you will find is if you can be consistent with your point of difference in everything you do, whether it's digital or physical marketing and in your sales touch points, you will find your pipeline increases exponentially and it's easier to close clients too. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Stay tuned. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more videos.